Hey everyone, and welcome to the program. I'll be talking about Western Stars, a 7-inch release from Bruce Springsteen from Record Store Day, Black Friday 2019. Stick around and we'll dive in. Hey everybody, so if you're like me and you are a record collector and a vinyl aficionado, you were very likely at Record Store Day Black Friday this past year. I've always felt that a lot of people, you'll see the preview videos of the list and what's coming out. People might show their hauls, and then that's it, and we kind of forget about the releases and don't actually talk about them. So I was thinking, now that we're a couple months past Record Store Day Black Friday, and the next Record Store Day is right around the corner, we should probably see a list coming up in the next few weeks to maybe a month. It tends to come out late February to early March each year, and I thought now would be a good time to just kind of reflect on what I purchased and maybe start a conversation with you to see if you picked this up, had similar reactions to what I had, and if not, maybe this is one that has been on your list of potential to pick up now that we're past it. Maybe you couldn't get to Record Store Day Black Friday being around the holiday and having obligations with Thanksgiving or whatnot. So maybe this is one that you've been thinking of getting. So right off the bat, I'll let you know I am a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. I grew up in New Jersey. It's one of the first artists I really got into. So I'm very, and I've been to a ton of concerts, not as many as some people who will hit hundreds, but I've been to about a dozen shows and seen them in Jersey, New York, just in multiple locations, different types of tours. And I love him. So I'm always going to be a little bit biased towards his releases. And on top of that, I'm pretty much always going to buy whatever he puts out, regardless of what it is. So, that out of the way, I will say I was relatively disappointed with this release. It's a 7-inch, and if you're not familiar with Western Stars, it was an album that he put out this past year. Now, Western Stars, to me, is one of his best albums in recent memory. It's not with the E Street Band. It's very 1970s, kind of that country rock sound that you might be familiar with bands kind of like maybe the Eagles, Glenn Campbell. It's definitely a change of pace for him, but it's some of the best songwriting and some of the best songs overall in a very long time, and I was really pleased with this one. After he released this, he decided he wasn't going to tour. If you've been familiar with what he's done over the past couple years, he wrote his autobiography, he did Springsteen on Broadway, and I think he was looking for a little bit of a break. So what he ended up doing was he gathered musicians together as well as a full orchestra, got folks to his barn in New Jersey, which is, trust me, not your average barn. It's definitely a nicer setup that you'll see on your average farm. Got folks together and did a live performance, and also a bit of a documentary that you could see as a companion to both the book and Springsteen on Broadway. And he ultimately released a second album with the songs from the movie. So you have two versions of this album. One, straight studio with Western Stars, and then the live version with the orchestra. Plus, it's the same exact track listing, but he ended up recording Rhinestone Cowboy as a bonus track to go in the film. So he ended up putting out this Western Stars, the 7-inch for Black Friday. It has two songs on it, Western Stars and The Wayfarer, both of which were on they're on both albums, but these two tracks came from the original album. The 7-inch is nice. I mean, it came on blue vinyl, which is cool. I mean, that's great. It's a limited release, but I want to say that he released something like 7,000 copies of this thing. It was disappointing because I felt he could have done something different. He could have if he was going to put Western Stars on it, that's great. Maybe there was an outtake. I know he doesn't record as many songs as he used to. He tends to be much more focused when he goes into the studio. So there's fewer B-sides out there. There's probably not as many alternate takes. It would have been nice to get another song on this to make it a little bit more special. The other thought that I had, too, that really would have tied this together is if he would have done a double A-side on this, where, maybe he did Western Stars from the original album, but then paired it with Western Stars from the soundtrack album to kind of give you an A-B experience and something a little bit different. He didn't do that. Me as a Bruce Springsteen fan, I'm going to go and get this because I'm a completist. I want to have as many of his 7 inches as I can. I have all of his albums. I've got him on CD. I've got him on cassette. It's one of those that I'm just going to have a lot of Bruce Springsteen, so naturally I'm going to pick this up. For you, if you're a casual fan of the boss, maybe this isn't your cup of tea. Maybe it's not something you would necessarily want. And it's kind of odd. If you're going to put out a 7-inch to promote the album, you would think you'd do it before the album came out. At this point, it was long out and available. So it just didn't really make sense. And on top of that, he could have done something special. He's done a number of Record Store Day and Black Friday releases in the past, which have had unique content and unique songs that haven't been released before. He's done a few projects in the last few years where he's contributed songs to soundtracks. So it would have maybe been a little bit nicer to get something that just wasn't available readily and give you something different. So as far as this goes too, if you're somebody that didn't pick this up and have been thinking about it, the good news is this one is readily available. It is out there. I have seen... we're into February 2020 when I'm recording this, and I've still seen it pop up in kind of those leftover bins post Record Store Day where they didn't sell out and they just kind of sit there forever until somebody buys them. I've seen this one a couple times in those. I've looked it up on Discogs just to get a sense for the price, and as of this video, I think the median price was around $5. There are a ton of copies out there. If you're floating around eBay and see somebody selling it or listing it for $40, just walk away, head to Discogs. You can get this thing for like $5, between $5 and $10 when you also factor in shipping. So it's really not one that you need to bend over back to get. And I feel like it's one that's going to be readily available for a long time. And the history of some of his releases is he does put out a lot because he does have a very core audience of older listeners and collectors. So they're ones that you can get, and even some of his past releases that have been more unique are still readily available and not at an extreme price by any sense of the imagination. So, if you're looking for one to pick up, if you collect 7-inch records, sure, go get this. If you're a more casual listener, I would tell you right now, like you're just better off going straight to one or both of these. I mean, these are two of my favorite. I mean, the main album is in my top 5 releases of 2019, and me being a big Bruce Springsteen fan, I'll probably just go and say it's my favorite one of last year, even though there was a ton of really good releases last year. But you can't go wrong with either of these. Stay away from this if you're a casual listener, and just go for these. But if you're a collector and you want something, absolutely, by all means get it and add it to your collection. So what do you think? Do you have this? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Did you think about it, and are you considering maybe picking it up? Did you miss Record Store Day? Let me know in the comments, and we'll get a conversation going. Give this video a like. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'm planning a lot more videos in the near future and looking forward to growing my audience and continuing this conversation with you. Thanks, everyone.